Murder at Marchmont and Bell. The First Bloomsbury Bookshop Mystery by Imogen Penrose. You are listening to the opening chapter. Cleo Marchmont has come home to Bloomsbury to reopen her great-aunt's bookshop. It comes with a cat who has opinions, a great-aunt who has declined to leave the premises on account of being dead, and, on the morning Cleo means to turn the key, a body among the Russian novels. This is Chapter 1, Reopening Day. The shop at 9 smelled of cold tea and old paper, and underneath the smell of something she did not, at first, try to name. Cleo came down from the flat with the chalk sign under her arm. Vivian's sign, in Vivian's hand, propped inside the window for 18 months. She had a plan for the morning, and the plan had 3 parts. Set the sign on the pavement, unlock the door. Be open at 9, like a shop, like her great-aunt before her. She had lain awake rehearsing it, the way you rehearse a word in a language you are nervous of speaking aloud. On the half-landing she passed the photographs. She had not hung them. Vivian had, years before, and Cleo had left them where they were. A wedding she half knew, a dog she didn't. A woman at a garden table, head back, laughing at someone outside the frame. Behind her, on the stairs, Vivian looked at the wall on the other side. "Morning," Cleo said. Vivian said nothing. It was the first wrong thing, though Cleo would not place it as wrong until later. Boswell was in the Russian literature nook. He sat the way he sat when a thing had been decided. Square, 4 paws together, the half-white one level with the other, tail folded round. He was looking at the floor by the low shelf, and he did not look up when she reached the bottom stair, which he always did, which was the second wrong thing, and the one she felt before she understood it. The man was on the floor of the nook, between the lowest shelf and the window. He lay on his side, one arm folded under him, as if he had sat down against the books and then gone past sitting. A good overcoat, herringbone, bought once and kept for 20 years. Polished shoes. Half-moon glasses shunted up his forehead where the floor had met them. Silver hair trimmed close at the sides. One glove on, one glove off, as though he had meant to handle something and run out of time. A man dressed for a private view, laid out among the Dostoevsky. Cleo stood on the bottom stair with the sign under her arm and did nothing at all. Then she set the sign against the counter with care, as though the small noise might wake him. She knew it would not. She had known from the stairs. Vivian had gone to philosophy. She stood at the 3rd shelf from the bottom, green cardigan, brogues, watching the man across the breadth of the shop. In the grey window light, she had the look of a photograph printed a shade off the lines, the colour and the edges not quite agreeing. Even so, she was herself to the inch. The iron grey hair cut short, the pale blue eyes steady on the body, the back held straight as a shelf end. Death had blurred her outline and left everything inside it where it had always been. She did not speak. Cleo went to him. She had seen one dead person before this year, in a cottage in Sussex, and now she had seen 2. That was 2 more than most of the people she used to work with, who handled the property of the dead all day and never once the dead. She crouched. She put 2 fingers to the side of his throat, above the collar, the way a woman in a church hall had shown a row of them on a folding chair on a Tuesday, in case they ever had to. Nothing under the fingers. The skin was cool. He had been here some hours. She took her hand away and looked, because looking was the part she knew how to do. The man was near 70. The overcoat had not been slept in. The creases were the days, not the nights. There was a darkness at the back of the silver head, low down, near the window ledge, that she saw and then stepped around in her mind, the way you step around a thing on the pavement without letting your eyes stay. By his open hand, against the skirting, was a book. Red cloth blocked in gilt, the boards splayed, lying face down across its own leaves. An old book, and a good one, dropped the way no one who loved books would drop it. Her eye went to it before she chose to send it. A first edition. On the half-title, upside down to her, ran the brown loops of an inscription, a presentation hand, a name. Something in it sat wrong. She was too emptied to say what, and there was a dead man on her floor, and the inscription could keep. She let the thought go. It did not go far. She stood. The shelf was where it had always been, and she put her hand on it for that reason. The window over the nook gave to the brick yard. She looked up at it without choosing to. The sill carried 18 months of dust, soft and level, as she had seen it the evening before in the last of the light, with the rosemary beyond the glass and the one chair. It was not level now. A clean swipe went through the dust to the paint, and the old latch sat half across instead of home, and on the pane were smears that were not the removal men's, whose marks had been downstairs, on the front window, in a yesterday that felt borrowed from another life. She filed it without knowing she had filed it. The mind keeps things in a drawer it has not been told it owns. She put her hands in her pockets. They wanted something to do, and there was nothing in the nook she would let herself touch. On the left thumb, the old white scar caught the light, the one a book knife had given her years ago, when books had been a thing you catalogued and not a thing you came down to find a dead man among. She turned her grandmother's ring once on her right hand and made the hands be still. The front door was bolted. She knew because she had done it. Top bolt, bottom bolt, the chain, the night before, after she had stood in the open door and listened to a piano miss the same note twice and decided the street was real. The bolts were across. The chain hung on its hook. She had come down to a locked shop with a dead man inside it. The fact stood up in her mind, declared itself strange, and then, because there was too much else standing, lay down beside the inscription and the disturbed dust, and was quiet. She found her phone in her pocket. "Sit down, Cleo," Vivian said from philosophy. It was the first thing she had said. Cleo looked across. Vivian had not moved from the third shelf. She was not watching the man now. She was watching the nook, the low run of cloth and paper above his shoulder. The Russian shelf Cleo had passed the evening before and thought, that wall on Thursday. "I'm all right," Cleo said. "You are not. You're the colour of the wall. I'm going to ring them." "Yes," said Vivian. "Ring them." Cleo dialed. While it connected, she watched Boswell, because Boswell was easier to watch than the man. He had not moved from the body. His ears lay flat to his skull, and the fur stood along his spine in a low ridge, and she had not seen him do that. Not in Sussex, not on the train up, not once since he had decided to belong to her. A voice asked which service she wanted. "Police," she said, "and an ambulance, although I think the ambulance is too late." She gave the address and heard her own voice lay it out, clean and square, the cataloguer's voice, the one she used for a difficult provenance when the room had gone tense. Marchmont and Bell, Helder Street off Lamb's Conduit. A man, yes. No, she did not know him. No, she was certain. The shop had been closed a long while. She had come down to open it. They told her not to touch anything. She looked at the hand that had touched his throat and let the instruction pass. They told her a car was coming. She did not sit. She stood in the middle of the shop, where she had stood the evening before with the boxes around her and the tea going cold, and she found the room had changed its meaning in the night. Yesterday it had been a thing to inherit. This morning it was a thing that had happened, and she was the person it had happened to. She set the phone on the counter, face up, in case. the shop had gone quiet. A van found its gear out on Lamb's Conduit Street, and Gull made its remark to the chimney pots, and Bloomsbury carried on being Bloomsbury, 6 feet away and a bolted door off. On the floor by the nook she had meant this morning to put a saucer of water out for the rosemary. She had written it on the back of her hand in biro the night before. The biro was still there. The rosemary would have to wait with everything else. She thought about who might have come in at 9. A woman after a novel for a train. A man looking for the shop that used to be next door. A child with money in a sock. None of them would come now. There would be a car instead, and after the car a tape across the door, and the chalk sign would stay where she had set it against the counter, unread. Boswell got up. He crossed to philosophy and sat against the hem of the green cardigan and leaned his weight into it, which she had learned a cat could do to Vivian, and she could not. Vivian looked down at him for a moment. Then she looked back at the nook, at the even shelf and the red book splayed beneath it, and her face moved the way a photograph moves when light is tilted across it. "Cleo," she said. "Yes?" Vivian did not point. She could not have lifted the book if she had wished to. It had come into the shop long after her, and what came after was not hers to touch. She did not wish to. "Those are not my books." That was reopening day, the first chapter of Murder at Marchmont Bell, a Bloomsbury Bookshop Mystery by Imogen Penrose. Cleo's morning does not get any simpler. A forged first edition by the body, a cellar full of stock that was never her aunt's, a locked shop that has been someone's warehouse for 18 months, and a quiet, careful man who has been nothing but kind to her. If you would like to read on, the book is waiting. The link is in the description below. And if you would rather start where Cleo started, there is a short story called The Cancelled Leaf, and it is yours, free. That link is below as well. Boswell would like you to subscribe. Boswell would like a great many things. Until next time, from Bloomsbury.